Hi there, and welcome to our Black and White interview series. Today we've got an incredible interview with Garth Makowski from Harcourt's The Property People. Garth, welcome to the interview.
Thanks very much. Thanks for having me.
One of the big things that I've witnessed without a doubt is that you've just got an absolute passion for people doing really well in this industry. Talk to us about where that comes from and why you want to see people do well.
Well, I love real estate.
Yeah.
You know, so the first thing is this year I celebrate 27 years in the industry.
Yeah.
I've only ever worked in Campbelltown, Macarthur,
Yeah.
which is where I was born and raised.
Yeah.
And I love the business first and foremost. And for me, the business has never been about the property or the houses. It's always about the families and the people that live in the homes and the people within our community. The business for me, I consider myself one of the really, really lucky people in the industry because I found the business when I was 16 in year 10 doing work experience.
Yeah.
And I spent 2 weeks with an agent that I ended up working for 8 years when I finished high school. And I fell in love with the business in year 10. And I just knew that it was going to be the right pathway for me. And that's where I wanted to be. So I found, you know, a profession that's ended up being a 27-year career. Salesperson, property manager, assistant, everything. To business owner, and 27 years down the track, I can say today I love the business as much, if not more, than the day I started it. Yeah. Which I think I'm really lucky. So for me, I guess encouraging others and wanting to help others to succeed is really important. And I find it something fun to talk about and something that I love to encourage others to want to explore. You know, the possibility of getting into real estate or working in real estate or becoming an agent. Yeah. But of course, they need to know the home truths. Yeah. You know, and the business, not all of us are built for this business. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
What do you think makes someone seriously good at it?
Resilience.
Yeah.
Someone that, firstly, you've got to love relationships. You've got to love people. Property comes secondary to that. You've got to be fiercely competitive. So you've got to be that person that, you know, if you're the kid at school and you're happy coming last in the running race, don't get into real estate. Mm-hmm. If you're the kid at school that was just happy to fit in, don't get into real estate. You've got to be that competitive kid that wanted to come first, second, third, or came fifth and wanted to be better. Mm-hmm. You've got to have that fierce competitive nature because that translates in the marketplace to going to an appraisal and attending a listing appointment and being up against 6 or 8 other agents, and coming second doesn't cut it. Yeah. Coming second doesn't win the trophy. Coming second doesn't bank the commission. Yeah. You've got to come first. Yeah. There's no place for second or third in our business. So if you haven't got that personality and drive to cut through and always want to win, and at times you won't. You know, I mean, this week I've lost 3 listings that I presented for. You can't win everything, but you've got to become a better loser then you are a better winner. Right. You know, you're not going to win everything. Yeah. But you've got to want to win, and you've got to be prepared to put everything on the line every time to win those relationships.
So talk to us a little bit about the market that you get to serve. Where do prices kind of start? Yep. Where do they end? And what are some of the things that are rapidly changing that market over the course of the last decade?
Yep. So if we look at our median price for our office, so I'm looking at our office data and what we, and if we talk about the calendar year, January, December 18, our average price for our company was $612,000. Yeah. Which is pretty good. Yeah. It was only a few years ago, JP, that we were down around 450. Yeah. So we've had great growth the last 3 or 4 years, and you know, we're probably this year that average is probably just sitting below the 600,000 at an average price. We're very much a mum and dad blue collar worker market. Mm-hmm. Mum or dad are full time in employment. Mm-hmm. One of them's maybe part time, not higher income earners. Mm-hmm. You know, our top residential suburb in Campbelltown would be a suburb called Glen Alpine that's built around the Campbelltown Golf Club. Mm-hmm. And the median price in there is $750 to $800 for a 1/4 acre golf frontage property, 4 bedrooms, triple garage, in-ground pool, 3 bathrooms, everything. So under $1 million, you're getting in there with a fabulous, huge residential property. And then we've got some acreage properties that kind of sit in that 1 to 2 million range in a couple of rural subdivisions. but the majority of our area is somewhere between 400, 650 for a 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom, 1-car or 2-car home.
Yeah. So talk to us about proximity to Sydney, because some people might not know where Campbelltown is.
Okay. Yeah. Campbelltown, southwest Sydney, and it's about a 50 to 60 minute drive into the CBD. Yeah, so we're inland of the south coast, inland of Wollongong. Yeah. We're not as far west as Penrith or the Blue Mountains, but we're kind of in between.
So talk to us a little bit about the infrastructure growth there, because there's some massive changes that have happened.
Yeah, I mean it's an awesome place, not just to live, but it's an amazing place to work, because it's an area that's gone forward so far. You know, and we don't have the confines of small boundaries. It's just boundaryless almost. Yeah. You know, so there's development to the south, development to the east, development to the north. We've got, you know, in Australia, you know, we're kind of rating within the top 5 areas for urban development over the next decade. It's just enormous. So we've got the new airport, the international airport going in. We've got, you know, terrific roadways, M7, M5 motorways, right to the gateway of where Campbelltown, Macarthur is. You know, easy access down to Canberra, easy access to the south coast where I live. You know, it's 35 minutes and you're on the beaches to Campbelltown. So look, it's got everything. It's got universities, wonderful healthcare, terrific services for families, daycare, shopping. Goes on and on and on. You need to move, Josh.
Yes, yeah. But you're very passionate about it, which is one of the best things I love. One of the big things is that when you see that sort of an area, there's been a lot of development too, and a lot of granny flats going on the back of houses where people are kind of doing a bit more medium density development as well, because there's been some changes to the overlays. Yep. Talk to us a little bit about how that's created a dynamic in that market.
Yeah, so the state government released new legislation that precedes council development control plans, right? It's called CDC, Complying Development Consents. And we're probably the heartland of that, where you've got mums and dads that have a terrific rental property sitting on a 500 or 600 square metre block of land, but they can't subdivide it. It doesn't comply with a duplex. You can't knock it down and build anything on it. So this CDC legislation pretty much brought out, said, look, if you're sitting on a 450 square metre plus site, and you can tick these 10 or 15 boxes and comply with the setbacks, the requirements, we'll let you place a 60 square metre, 50, 60 square metre, 60 square metre cap at the top, granny flat, 2 bedrooms in your backyard with no parking requirements. Right. Just park on the street. Yeah. Whereas so many do, just up on the curb or the neighbour's curb, wherever you can. Yeah. But you can build these granny flats. So what it has meant, if you translate that back to what does that mean as an opportunity to a buyer? Firstly, an investor can buy a home for 450, 500,000. For 100 to 135, 140,000 can construct a 2-bedroom garden home. That garden home will generate around $13,000 to $14,000 a year in gross income, which translates to about a 12% gross return on the investment. So, you know, if someone was to turn around to you tomorrow and say, listen, JP, come and buy 20 of these. They'll cost you 130 grand each. I'll guarantee you a 12% gross return on your investment. Would you do it?
Yeah, sure.
It's a no-brainer. But the real trick, like buying anything, is you've got to buy the right property up front. The money's in the upfront purchase. So you've got to pick one of these properties, 450, 500, then go and capitalise it, build your garden home, get your dual income return. You're getting $700 a week return out of an investment that's maybe cost you sub-6. It's pretty good. Then we look at home buyers. We look at young people that are starting out and haven't got, for example, the deposit. Mum and dad come in and we say, listen, mum and dad, there's a better way to do this. What I'd suggest we do is you're going to be capping the mortgage insurance with 20% security from your family home, right, to get these kids under mortgage insurance. So why don't we play it smart? Why don't we go and buy a property that has a CDC, you can get a consent on, and build a granny flat in the backyard, right? Because you're already tipping in 100 grand. So why don't we use that 100 grand to build the granny flat and actually generate your return, given that you've put your family home up as an asset of security for the kids to get in. So you'll buy it jointly. They'll be sitting on a common title, so one title, so you can't separate them or sell them separately, but you can bank that rent, that $300 a week out of the back flat, and you've got your kids into a property at the front. That's a start in life, and everybody's win-win. Yeah. And people go, can you do that? I go, you can do that, and it's not hard. And we're the one-stop shop because we've got it all set up. We've got our own planning team, and we process that. You know, we've set that up as an opportunity. And go, well, there's so many people that need this, so let's just be the go-to team where they can come in, go, we want one of those. We'll find the property, design it, comply it, process it through planning, oversee construction, delivery, lock up, hand over the keys, see you later. Yeah. Job done.
Fascinating to watch. You're massive about getting people to do wealth creation. Yep. One of the biggest issues inside of real estate is a lot of people earn a lot of money, but don't have much to show for it.
No, they don't.
Nice car. Yep. Yeah, but like literally nothing else much going in the background. And there's nothing wrong with a nice car if the asset base is behind it, right? And this is probably one of the challenges is about real estate agents actually learning what needs to come first. Let's talk a little bit about wealth creation. What are your thoughts about what people should be doing as an estate agent? We know you're not a financial advisor, but the advice that you're giving people is some good oil on what they should be doing as a real estate agent.
Well, it has to be the priority. You know, we're in a business where we go to work every day and preach about what the right investment choice would be. Yet, I don't know what the statistic would be, but if I was to have a guess, 95% of agents don't own a portfolio of investment properties. Most of the agents I know don't.
Don't even own a property.
Yeah, so there's, and I've heard you talk about that. All the agents I employ, one of the ingredients I look at is what experiences have they had buying and selling. Yeah. You know, it's very hard to teach someone to understand what a vendor is going through if you've never done it yourself. But there's a massive gap. But I believe there's a massive gap in our industry at so many levels, and it translates back. For me, it all translates back to lack of coaching, lack of mentoring, no goal setting, and not prioritising what's going to be really important in life. And a lot of these agents float through week to week, month to month, and don't think about it. You know, I had a conversation with an agent this week exactly about this. I said, "What's your financial plan this year?" I said, I haven't got one, Garth. I said, okay. I said, do you think that may explain a bit of your disconnect and why you're not hitting some of the goals and targets that you thought you might be able to achieve this year? And he goes, yeah, probably. I said, so what can we do about that? And he said, well, he goes, I don't talk about it. I said, well, let's talk about it. I said, I'm here to talk and listen and help you. But I said, let's look at your super. I said, how much money have you guys got in super, you and your wife? He said, 200,000. 200. I said, what do you think the super fund that have you 200,000 are doing with that money? He said, I don't know. I said, I'll tell you. They're making about 15% per annum on that money, culminated with a couple of thousand other people doing the same thing, and they're paying you your 6 or 7%. That's it. I said, it's not good enough. I said, that's your money, that's your retirement. You're 45 years of age. In 10 years, how are you going to retire with 200 that you might turn into 400 in the next 10 years? I said, let's talk about how we can turn 200 into $1 million. I said, because it's easy. I said, all we've got to do is set up a self-managed super fund. All we've got to do is go to an alternate lender that'll qualify you for a bear trust, set it up, and let's go and buy a property. And we know we're at the bottom of the cycle. We know we're going to plateau for the next year or two. We know in 10 years every property you own will double again. Because it has done for 100 years. So why is it going to be different in 10 years now? And he just looked at me and said, yeah, you're right. I said, I know I'm right. I said, so my greatest investment is not my business, it's the property portfolio we have. That's always been our priority every year, is to acquire property, build our property investments. You know, so we go to work because we love to work, but then we try to invest our profits into the business and into property. Because one day we won't have the business, Josh. One day we won't have that asset to generate income for our family, and we'll need to be self-sufficient and be able to fund that and have more than enough to do whatever we want to do.
So this is it's fascinating to watch, because you drive that throughout the course of your sales team, throughout your property managers. You drive them about consistency and that effort. What's the tenant that you've had? What's the longest tenant that you've had in play?
In one of our properties or within the agency?
It's in the agency.
Be Gloria Cashman.
Yeah.
And Gloria sadly passed away in the last couple of months.
Yeah.
But Gloria's been a part of our business for over 20 years.
Yeah. And how old was Gloria?
Gloria was 90, I think she was 95 or 96.
And still came in weekly to pay rent?
Up until the last year. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And it's fascinating to see that, right? Because when she would come in, the whole team would get around her.
We loved her.
Yeah.
We still do.
Birthday cakes.
We're in the process of getting a beautiful photo of Gloria to go on our Hall of Fame. So she's always part of our organisation, forever. And new people come in and say, who is she? We'll go, well, hey, we can spend days on this, but she's a classic, But she was a tenant, that didn't have any family. Mm-hmm. She was a lady that didn't have anyone to change her light bulbs. She was a lady that sometimes forgot to pay her rent as she got older, so we'd pay it. Mm-hmm. She was a lady that would sometimes neglect a cat when a cat was sick, so we'd take her and the cat to the vets. Mm-hmm. We'd take her to specialist appointments. Mm-hmm. We did everything for her. Mm-hmm. We ended up being responsible for moving her out of a home and putting her into a nursing home, and going there every week to see her. Mm-hmm. We'd celebrate Christmas with her. Mm-hmm. We'd celebrate her birthdays. We got her down to the office for her 90th, had a massive birthday party for her, big surprise. We just tried to do things, and that's not because we're deliberately trying to do something to look good. Mm-hmm. We just loved her, and she was just one of those classic people you meet in life that you go, she's got no one. She doesn't have family, but she's got us. Mm-hmm. So we can step up to the plate here and do more. Mm-hmm. So hopefully there'll be another Gloria soon.
Yeah, on the way.
That we can help, but it's important to help. We're lucky to be in business. Mm. We're lucky to be successful in business. Mm. We're lucky to be able to employ people. We're lucky to have a rent roll. We're lucky to have investment properties, children, our lives, everything. Mm. But it's nice to do something for other people that maybe don't have that support or don't have people around them that will just pick them up and make things right.
You've got an incredible background, but respectfully a very low profile in the industry. Yep. And I think that you keep the profile low deliberately, so that you can stay focused on just doing what's important around your team, around your community, and around what you're doing in your own personal portfolio. That's fascinating to watch. In the very early days, talk to us about the journey, because it wasn't just one office, there was multiples that you had some involvement in and control over. So talk to us a little about how that journey emerged. Where did you start and how did it step into what it is today?
Yeah, so it started essentially work experience, year 10 at high school. Yeah. Realised I wanted to be a real estate agent. Yeah. And that particular company that I did work experience for, the business owner said to me, I wouldn't consider you unless you did your HSC. Because I was ready to pack my bags, Josh. Right. I thought, stuff this, why spend another 2 years at school? Yeah. This is what I'm going to do. And he said, no, he goes, you are too young. He said, you need another couple of years under your belt. Go and do that. Call me at the end of your HSC and let's have a chat then. So over the next year and a half, I started trying to learn more about real estate, and the more I read, the more interested I became. And I understood that it was a business where we needed to prospect. Mm-hmm. So I thought, well, if I'm going to get this job, I'm going to have to prospect this guy. Mm-hmm. So I set a goal that from July through to September, heading into the HSC, I'd ring this guy every week. Mm-hmm. I did that. And just to remind him that I was there, because in my work experience report, he said, I'd consider you for a traineeship, which is what it was back then. Yeah. So I thought, right, I'll latch onto that because they're number one. They're the best company in the region, and that's where I wanted to work. Anyhow, I spoke to him so many times, and then I finished the HSC. I got an invitation to go to university to do economics, but I didn't want to do that. And he wouldn't give me a job, wouldn't give me a start. He said he wasn't in a position to. The offer was off the table. And in the next street to where I lived with Mum and Dad, I had a really close mate, Mark, who had got a job in a local real estate agency, the worst office in the region. Right. And Mark and I were out one night. He goes, Garth, he goes, I hate it. He goes, mate, I'm resigning tomorrow. He goes, why don't you ring Tom, the owner, tell him you know me. I'm resigning at 9 o'clock. You ring him at 9:30. And he goes, you can have my job. He goes, because I'm not doing real estate. He goes, I can't stand it. And that's what happened. Right. So I went down that day and got a job with Tom, who was a great bloke, but he was,
So you entered and Mark left, yeah?
I went to the worst office in the area, and at day one he said to me, he goes, Garth, he goes, right, this thing here, he brings out this big book. He said, this is called a reverse phone book. Have you ever seen one of those, like in the old days? Yeah. And I said, right. I said, what do you do with that? He goes, well, your job, Garth, is you're going to sit here for 6 hours a day with a pen and a ruler. And each time you make a call, you're going to put this little mark here onto the other 50,000 marks that are already there. And he goes, you're going to call people all day long. I said, what am I going to say? He goes, you're going to ask them if they want to sell their home. I said, okay. Is that it? He goes, yes. And that's what I did. So for 9 months, I sat there every day and just rang through this reverse phone book trying to find people. How I got my start with that original company was I went to an appraisal, which the lady that owned it was a lovely woman, and she ran a little cleaning business in Campbelltown, and she was the office cleaner for that real estate office that I wanted to work at. And she went back after having met me at the home, probably the world's worst listing presentation, but she liked me. Yeah. And she said to him, she says, you're lucky you got my listing. I was going to give it to Garth. And if I didn't have the cleaning contract here, that young fella was getting the listing. I got a phone call the next day, I was working in that business.
Wow, that was the step.
That was the step. And it goes to show you that, you know, it doesn't matter where you start, it's what you do. You know, and sometimes you don't get a start in the best office straight away, but if you haven't got the courage and you haven't got the mongrel to work hard and demonstrate that you've got the ticker. And I think that's what he was looking for. He wanted to know that I was a young, pimply-headed 18-year-old kid, and could he be really bothered putting me in a seat and giving me a desk and a phone and putting all that effort into me when I was still living at home with mum and dad and I was only a young guy, would it be worth it? Yeah. So now being an employer today, I understand why he made those decisions. And that decision he made to say no to me, that made me
hungrier than
grow a pair and go harder.
Yeah. So what ended up happening there? So you stayed working for him?
I worked in that company not for 8 years. I said it's actually 7, and I became, one of the top agents in that company in that period of time. And it was an interesting environment because it was a company, they were the number one office in the region, bar none, you know. And they were 2 Greek guys, 2 Greek brothers. It was like working for the Greek Mafia. Right? And
what's it like to work for the Greek Mafia?
Oh, it was fun. I enjoyed it. And they were very different to one another. But I learned a lot. They didn't do training and personal development. It was, you had to fight for yourself. And they had the best stable of agents in that company. And they're all a lot older than me. You know, I was 19 at the time, by the time I got to start with them. And all the agents were 38, 45. You know, and at the peak of their game. So I was just learning off them, shadowing them, running around, watching listing presentations, how to do this, how do you negotiate, how do you show a house. How do you put a sign up? You know, that was it. He goes, your first day, right, pick up 6 star posts and a thumper and there's a roll of wire and you got to put your signs up. We did all of that stuff, you know. So it was a hard school of knocks. They paid the lowest commission in the region, but they had the highest turnover. So I worked there for 7 years, did very, very well. And I loved working for them, even though it was a tough school and a tough, it was a hard school of knocks, and they were tough on their salespeople. But I learned a lot, and they taught me good values. They taught me what it meant to work really hard, not to have days off. For those 7 years, I think I worked pretty much at least 5 of those, probably 6 days a week, 60 hours a week, easy. You know, and it was expected. So there was none of this, you get a job 40 hours a week. It was, you were frowned upon if you weren't doing the extra. You were frowned upon if you didn't come in on your days off. and you were not rewarded if you didn't, which is another good thing. So, you know, those that got the rewards were the ones that were really committed to the company and the team, which, you know, are great things to learn when you're young. Hard to teach people when they're in their 40s that.
When you got to the end of that tenure, what happened next?
Well, I got to the end of that. I was doing really well. I was making really good commission, but I couldn't make more. I looked at it and thought, right, I'm working 6 days a week. I'm one of the top performing agents in the company. I can't get more. The only way I'm going to make more is if I put my fees up. But that company had a rule that you had to charge the company structure, which was old scale, 3.1% on the first 100, 2% thereafter. That was it. You couldn't charge more. So I did. So I went a bit renegade rogue and thought, well, you know, if you're not happy with me bringing more money into the company as one of your top agents, then just, you can sack me. And if it's not going to work here, I'll go and do it somewhere else. They've been promising to put me into an office for a period of time, and they're going to expand out the organisation, and I was part of that big picture and blah, 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 which is all good. And I'm sure they had genuine interest to want to do that because they owned a small franchise group. But that never kind of eventuated. And I remember sitting down one day going, you know, I've worked so bloody hard this year, and I want to make more money. You know, I want to grow, and I want personal development. And I wanted a lot more than what I guess they could give, and I'd outgrown that organisation. I thought, well, there's only two ways I can do it. I either put my commission up to 3.5% flat or 3% and start charging what I think I'm worth now. And that's what I did. And I got pulled up by the business owner. He said, look, we can't do that. He goes, it sets a bad example, and you know, if you're charging that, what if you're losing business? I said, well, do you care? Because I'm not really losing business. And I said, I'm bringing in another 40% more income than I was before. The company's winning, I'm winning. And he goes, yeah, but the other agents won't be able to get those fees. Therefore, it's going to create dissension in the team and da-da-da-da-da-da. I said, rightio. And I knew at that point, well, there's my answer, writing's on the wall. So one of the other guys that I worked with in that company that I had an enormous respect for had gone out about a year before and opened his own office. Chris Stefandelis. I rang Chris, I said, right, I'm out of here, but I'm only coming over if we do a deal for half the business today. Let's negotiate it, work it out. And we'd had a couple of chats before. He said, do you think you'd be interested? I said, no, I'm not ready. And but I just reached that point where I was ready, and it was that phone call. You know, I rang the person I trusted. I rang the person that had maybe sowed the seeds early enough, so when he knew I was ready to make that move, I would call him, and I did. You know, so there's a lesson in that for business owners. You know, in trying to recruit and grow, always identify talent around you. Always know who your competitors are. Never make them your enemy. They're trying to do the same thing you are, but just sow the seed and make sure they know how you do business and how you run your business, because one day they might be in the same position that I was in, and they will pick up their phone and they'll reach out to someone. So is it going to be you, or is it going to be someone else that has done that? So that was a good lesson for me even in our business today. So I always try to, you know, the good agents in our region, and there's so many of them, Josh, that are doing really well. You know, I try to make what we do transparent, and if down the track there are opportunities to talk to them or bring them into our stable and teach them how we do things, we want to be able to do that. You know.
So you kept working for Chris?
Yeah, so we went in there, we agreed to the partnership, and at that point my wife, Laura, who is a property management specialist, she also came on board, and we started...
And was she your wife at that point?
Yeah.
Yeah. Good.
So we started growing a rent roll at that point. So we started with around 200 properties Chris had when we came in, and today we're sitting somewhere around 1,600 properties today through organic growth, not through acquisition, which we're really proud of. Yeah, you know,
it's unbelievable.
There's nothing wrong with buying rent rolls.
Yeah.
But it's awesome to watch everyone around you losing managements and not growing organically, and then know that you're growing organically and that what you're doing actually works. So that's been heaps of fun. So we went into partnership with Chris. That lasted 10, 12 years. We tried lots of things. We tried creating a super team with young agents, which didn't work for us. We felt like a kindergarten. We felt like, I love selling, and so did Chris, and we just felt like we were always putting band-aids on these salespeople that either didn't listen, weren't embracing the culture, the systems, and da-da. So we got, I think the largest our team was back then was maybe around 12 to 15 reps. Then we tried having other offices around us, opening branch offices up. And the lesson in that is that doesn't work either. You know, as business owners working from one office, for us, having an office down there and an office down there, it didn't work for us. We really believed that you needed to have a vested interest 24/7 in that business, someone as a partner or a JV or someone that has, you know...
Lead generation, major ability to be able to get listings.
Correct.
Deal support for all the other people inside the organisation.
Something to lose and some money on the table and the hunger to succeed.
Cultural driver.
So we learnt lessons from that. And we kind of decentralised all that and brought it all back to one. Then I'd done a lot of coaching over the years for Doug Maloof. Doug Maloof had invited me to do some management training, salespeople training within his franchise group, which was Doug Mal on the South Coast. So
which was massive at the time, right?
They're small office, 6 offices. Doug, in his day, I mean, Doug's, you know, one of the pioneers of Australian real estate. I mean, he's just an amazing person. But his group in its day, when he was active in the group, they were, you know, in the Illawarra, they were the #1 group. But over a period of 10 years and Doug's transition over that period of time, there were a lot of those businesses that were older businesses. They weren't performing at their peak anymore. The focus on growth had dissipated. Their market share had dissipated. Their numbers of consultants on the ground had dropped, all sorts of things. And I said to Doug, I said, would you consider selling it? He goes, I've been waiting for you to ask me. I said, okay. I said, well, Chris and I will buy it. And we did a deal on a napkin. We shook hands. And we bought Doug's business, just like that. And then we took over that little franchise business. And in the first 12 months of us taking the franchise on board, Chris and I and Kirsten and Janice, who were working with us, over the next 12 to 18 months, we transitioned 5 of those 6 businesses and brought young talent through and created succession plans with those business owners, because they were all at that stage in life where they were just wanting to hang their gloves up. Been doing it for 20, 30 years, and it was time to do something different or to bring some young people in. So we helped them to do that. That was a lot of fun. Then we grew the group, and at our peak over 4 years, we grew that from 6 offices to 18 or 19. Then Chris waved the flag, said, right guys, I want to tap out. And he always said, right when we went into partnership early, he said, when I'm 50, he says, that's it, I'm done. I won't be staying, no matter what. He goes, that's going to be my cut-off. So sure enough, at 48, he waved the red flag and said, guys, what do you want to do? And, you know, we were going hard. We were going a million miles an hour. I've just gone, God, what am I going to do now? And we just started a family. You know, Laura and I made that decision. We wanted children. We'd had Nellie Mae, Laura was pregnant with Wilson, and we thought, you know what, we don't want to be those people that rule the kingdom but never have a life, aren't great parents, don't commit to their business, have lots of businesses and managers and things aren't right. So we said, you know what, we'll let go of the franchise business. We'll let go of that. And we made a decision and we sold that to Harcourts International, which was a great decision at the time and still is today. And Laura and I then bought Chris out of our business. We took over our company and we continued working with just as much effort, energy and passion as we always have, right through to today. And I mean, that business, I think when we took over it, we had around probably 650, 700 managements in that time. We've doubled that. more than doubled our gross commissional incomes and added new divisions, and it's been really good.
Mm-hmm. So it's a fascinating story when you think about that. Like, you go from finishing HSC, being in a position, you work for the worst office, you go to one of the best offices, you get involved in that, you grow a franchise group, you sell it, you get yourself into a position that now you're back into a very solid base of a business that allows you to be able to have not only wealth creation, but a lot of the controllables handled.
Yep.
It's a nice, I wouldn't say easy life, but it's got a lot of the moving parts have been minimised. So just the best moving parts, the juiciest parts stay.
Yep.
And then you're into a position of massive reinvention again in terms of workplace culture. And your new office has just opened, a new office space. How many square metres is that?
500.
500. You got your own training/auction room.
Yeah, we do.
You've got everyone together.
Yeah.
State of the art in terms of the actual fit out. It's incredible in terms of the meeting rooms. I've seen it at 3 or 4 different stages throughout the course of that fit out. The values are up on the wall in a very big way. And also in addition to that, a lot of really good inspirational quotes and things up there as well. And it's a complete change, because in the previous office that you were in, it got a bit dated, but you know what, it was very family orientated, and you know what, it was also to a tune that we don't spend money that we don't have. So let's get into a position that let's make sure that we're investing in the right areas in the business, which was growing recurring revenue, which is ultimately the major part for any business owner. And also too, developing a really good, strong, stable sales team. And this is the interesting thing is that what we say is that the age profile and demographic of your team has got to be reflective of the audience that you serve. And you've got a sales team that, transitions across all the generations, which is amazing to watch, in that, you've got some fresh young pups on the way through, you've got a couple of silver foxes, sitting there as well. But that has actually allowed you to be able to really take, strong market share and be able to drive that level of consistency. Having just moved into the new office, that new environment, any differences to culture or feeling or progressiveness that's happened?
Well, yeah, I definitely think. I think as an employer, the standard within our industry's changed massively in a decade. Yeah. We were kind of land-strung, for a better word, where we were, in that there were no opportunities or facilities suitable nearby. And yeah, so you come into our office and it wasn't the best looking office, Josh. We're the best people. We're the best team. Believe the best culture, the best love for the business. But we didn't look necessarily as a reflection in the mirror of probably who the quality of the people are in the organisation, which was always a hard thing. So when you're recruiting, you bring people through and they kind of walk through and go, oh, this is a bit 1980s. And it was. Laura and I have always been pretty frugal as well, with money and being careful how we spend it and when we spend it. So when we got the opportunity at this new facility, we knew we're going to do it once and it's going to be the best. It's not going to be second best. It's going to be the standard that is our organisation and what is the culture and the heartbeat behind it. Because the people we have going into this facility deserve that. They deserve to walk in the doors and go, wow, how good is this? We're now in this beautiful building. We've got a wonderful workplace. We've got sunlight, Josh. We now get sunlight, out of everything. That's the one thing I love the most, because I sit in a position where now I get light, and I didn't realise how important getting that daily dose of sunlight really is to making you feel good. Everything's right about it, and it certainly has been very uplifting for the team. Everybody's really excited about it. Everybody's proud to bring our existing customers in, and it's great to be able to show so many of our old clients that we've gone to the next step, we've gone to the next level, and they like being part of that successful journey with us. We're still that family business, Josh. We'll always be that. But in saying that, we needed to provide better facilities. We do have a commitment to want to grow both our sales and our property management businesses. We're not at that stage in life where we've hit the pause button and we're going, right, we're just going to on cruise control for the next 5 years or 10 years and then we're out of here. Why be in it? Why be in the job running a business if you're on cruise control? Why? You're still doing it 6 days a week.
Might as well get out and have a go.
Have a crack. Put it on the line. So we've done that. So we're going to grow our sales division I only want to bring in the best agents. You know, happy to recruit and develop the right talent. We want to grow our property management business as well and continue developing that as well. I'd like to think over the course of the next, 5 to 10 years, we can be a business that, hits those 3,000, 5,000 managements in our area. And I think we've got the goal-setting capability to head towards that goal. It's a big goal.
So what's your responsibilities today? Like, so sitting inside of that business?
I'm still a very large generator of sales revenue and income, which has predominantly been from the work that we've put into our project marketing team the last 5 to 10 years.
So how many transactions a year now for you?
Last year was 125.
Which is a lot. From anyone's point of view, as a leading director, to also be leading a sales team, helping to make sure you're growing your property management business, 125 deals a year. You've got to have a good team around you to help you to get that over
I've got
the
an
line.
amazing team.
Yeah.
Michelle Dursey, who works every day alongside of me, she's just bulletproof. Kirsten and Samantha and Caitlin, we've got the right support around us to run that. But I am a person, Josh, that's always believed that if you want to lead salespeople, it's one thing to sit behind a desk in the ivory tower and say, right, you're not doing this, you're not doing that. But unless you're sitting in people's lounge rooms as a sales manager and hearing the challenges, connecting to why agents are winning and not winning, how can you lead them?
Yeah.
And it's easy to go and hire a general manager and bring them in and go, right, your new job's to drive this team, good luck.
Yeah.
But if they're not in the field experiencing it and understanding the nuances and the small little changes that are happening, it can be very hard to lead people. So I've always been a salesperson first and foremost. That's my gift, that's my talent. Then I love those around me that are working alongside of me, running their businesses, and I love to see them doing well and being successful and doing what I can to help them with their journeys. 120 transactions. I don't think that's that hard. There's not that much work in that for me. My biggest year was 187 transactions. That was hard.
A bit more work in that.
Yeah.
You know what I love is that on the auction side of stuff, right? You're a big proponent of that.
Yep.
You made a decision that days on market was too long. You wanted to get it shorter. You wanted to be able to have a more efficient process on how to transact the stock. And it wasn't something that was done. CBD Sydney in a metro, no problems, but come out to Campbelltown is a bit of a different story. You had to fight a bit, in the lounge room to be able to get people to think about that.
Yeah, we did. We had to change our own thinking first.
Yeah.
And that wasn't necessarily a result of my own efforts. That was more the result of, we were doing on-site. And it was at a time when Rob Ford came on board at Harcourts. Yeah. And Paul Casarotto had also said, Garth, I think you need to start building more of an auction culture. Yeah. And we've always been a market where there's been auctions, but it's always mortgagees and bank sales and foreclosures and things like that. And we just thought, well, we didn't necessarily have the skill set. I'm an auctioneer, but the rest of the team, we'd never really trained it or it wasn't a part of our DNA and culture. So Rob really said, look, it could just be a wonderful point of difference. Number one, in prices you're achieving for your vendors, setting new benchmarks, skill setting your sales. I said, right, let's do it. So we sat down and worked out a game plan with Rob and Paul, and we put it into place. And we nailed it, and we did. And the timing was impeccable because we were in that market that was starting to kick on. 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. Yeah. So we were learning during this time where the market made us look a lot better than we really were, but we were learning this new skill set and the value of in-rooms auction. That was a really great learning curve for us, and we've always been really the only team in the region that does in-rooms auctions still today. It hasn't been the heartbeat the last year though, Josh, and it's an area that we right now need to improve and bring back into our business. But like all change in a market, when change happens, everybody kind of hits a flat spot. Goes, hang on. What do I do now? And how's the barometer going to shift? And what's the organisation barometer? So the focus always was to maintain volume, turnover, consistency. and try to alleviate stress with consultants. And during that process, part of it has been not being so assertive and aggressive with the interims program, but we've got our interims auction room now, Josh. Guess what's coming back?
You built the room.
So it's coming back.
Yeah. And you know, one of the things that you said there is, like, and I remember this in training, that, you know, when you're working with buyers, how do you encourage a buyer to want to turn up to it? And you had some great dialogue there, because it was something along the lines that, hey, look, you know, unfortunately the owner's situation is that they will need to be selling on the day.
Yeah, look, Josh, unfortunately the circumstances of the vendor are such that the property has to be disposed of at auction. And we'd love to be able to engage and enter into negotiation now, but we don't want to be that agent that does that now when we know the outcome. My job, Josh, is getting you from where we are today, getting all your pre-inspection information prepared and out of the way, having you prepared for 2 Wednesday nights' time, because that's going to be showtime, and you and I are going to win the property together. That's going to be the goal.
You've been a massive one about having the right platforms. Auction platform is a big one. Then you were big about technology platform. Database, what we're doing with it, how we do it, looking about how we can use technology to be able to amplify the human connection of getting our agents back out in front of people as much as possible. How important is database inside of an estate agency, and how well do you think they're run in the industry compared to what you want to focus on as an individual?
I think databases are just massive for salespeople. Salespeople need, companies need databases obviously, but salespeople need to embrace databases. We need to go to that next level now in the organisation with our client management system.
And that's a massive part of what you do, and being a great agent, is thinking about it. Okay, you've got a customer, but how do we serve them in new and better ways? And how does that technology platform allow us to do that? That's been a really big thing for the industry to try to get used to, because, you know, when you play 5, 6, 7 years in an expansionary market, data's not that valuable. It doesn't really matter. You got hundreds of people coming at you at opens on a Saturday. What people found when they went into a contractionary phase, where are all those buyers again that we had? Can we find that? And if we weren't getting that into organisation and get a group of people to call, then there's a real challenge on that. You want to commit to the disciplines a lot, 45-minute call sessions, consistency, getting the guys on the phone, getting appointment numbers up, keeping accountability across the teams. Having a look at the salespeople that you've got now, what do you think are some of the unique attributes that make them successful?
I think I'm probably fortunate in a lot of respects, because, the greater majority of my agents have been in the industry through a couple of cycles. This is not new for them. So they've kind of picked up the book, gone, yep, Garth, know what you're going to tell me. The old ones on the shelf, I've pulled the old ones on the shelf. I've pulled the one out from 10 years ago, and I know what to do. Leave me alone. And that's the thing with, as you said, some of the silver foxes, is they know what to do. And you need to gently remind them and say, hey, you're not quite on track. You need to get back and do this. But they know that, and it's their choice at the end of the day. For newer agents, I think the last 18 months has been a huge culture shock. And real estate's not just turning up at open homes and smiling and giving out business cards and kissing the babies and and waiting for people to call you back. It's a relationship business. And for the last 5 years, most agents haven't been building relationships. They've been order takers, not order makers. And they now need to go back through that last 5 years of data and go, okay, well, this has been a pretty good lesson. Great lesson for agents to learn now. The agents that want to be here in another 10 years, the last 18 months of pain is the best thing that could have ever happened to them. They don't realise it now when they're looking at their bank balances, but those that are committed and going to do all the things that you're training, Josh, they're going to be doing really well within the next 5 years. And they'll kill it within the next 10 years.
So the final part, like looking at, passion, drive, energy, commitment, just to life, that's a big thing for you and Laura. Did that always happen? Was that always instilled, or was there certain trigger events or something that got you to a point that go, you know what, I've got to make a decision and I've got to get in and have a go, and I'm not going to be involved in, putting myself on social where I just compare myself to where everyone else is at and drive insecurity. Instead, I want to drive strength and clarity of goals.
Well, I learned goal setting at a early point in my career, and I learnt that from Jim Rohn.
One of the greats. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, brilliant. I learnt goal setting from Jim, and I've always kept his journals and have followed maintaining a journal all through my career. So goal setting for me is something that I do every year, and I look at daily. And not everyone does that.
Yeah.
Not everybody can do that. Laura's not like that, my wife, and she runs a killer property management business. She's wired differently to me, but it doesn't mean she's not motivated, and she's got her own ways that motivate her, and how she performs at a high level is different to how I perform at a high level. But you first and foremost got to love what you do. Yeah.
So how does she manage you?
I don't know. I really don't know. I mean, she's, if Laura wasn't a part of our business wouldn't function like it does. If Laura wasn't there, we wouldn't have the culture that we have. She's an enormous part of who we are and the success we've had, and a bigger part of me, and me being happy and being successful doing what I do. So, without the sum of both of us, I don't think either of us would be at this destination where we are now, moving forward into the next part of the exciting journey. But it's, I get out of bed every day, and I look forward to going to work. I look forward to going to work. I go to bed at night, and I've got pages of challenges, Josh. I've got pages of things I don't know the answers to. I've got heaps of problems, right? But I don't let those things bother me. I think, right, it's left, right, get out of bed, keep going, let's just keep moving forwards. There's no point getting stuck in a pity party, right? Let's focus in on what we can change, what we can do today better, and let's make it a good day. And let's try and put a smile on someone else's face. My outlook is the glass is always half full, not half empty. No different to you, anyone else. I've got my challenges. I've got my strengths, I've got my weaknesses. I do my best to find people to be really good at my weaknesses, so I don't have to worry about them. But I've still got plenty I need to work on and get better at.
Some of those are passions. Including muscle cars.
Muscle cars are a big part, which Laura doesn't share. But anyhow, that's my challenge. How can I get another 12-car garage?
But I think it's an important part, right? Because you've got to have something that inspires you and something that drives you. And, there is some fruit for the rewards and if you're putting in the effort. But I think that the big lesson out of today is that, build your net wealth, get your wealth creation plan on track. Make sure you've got a vision and make sure you drive towards it. Be the sort of person that learns the systems. Don't be too worried about what the rest of the industry is doing. Focus on what you're doing for your customer. Build a really good quality business. Don't overinvest too early. Make sure that you're getting the right infrastructure around you, and all of it comes together. And bigger is not always better, but at the same time, it doesn't mean you don't have a vision, but you might be bigger in a different way. Getting your recurring revenue up, making those decisions to make it happen. Garth, if you met yourself from 10 years ago today, and you were able to give yourself some advice to that version of Garth from 10 years ago, what would the advice be?
To deal with challenges faster. Not procrastinate. So when you face a challenge, don't just think about it and plan towards a solution. Deal with it. Just get it done. That's probably been my biggest shortcoming. Has always been, I've got to do that. Okay, I'll do it tomorrow, next month, next year, and it just carries on and on and on. And it's always that monkey on your back. Rebound factor. For years, as a sales consultant, I would attend listing presentations, and it's quite a lot I didn't get, and it would make me physically sick. Honestly, to the point where I'd go to the bathroom and I was sick. That's how competitive I am, And it took me, I reckon, 10 years to learn not to do that, that was unhealthy, and that's not normal, and that's unnatural, and it's not a good way to live, to be like that level of anxiety, stress, pressure. I'd find myself, earlier in my career forever microscoping why. I don't worry about why about anything anymore. I've just let that go. But I found that really difficult. So I find a lot of salespeople. I had this conversation a couple of weeks ago with a different consultant, and she said to me, I don't think I'm good at listing. I said, why not? She said, well, I've lost a couple. I said, right. I said, you need to get to more. I said, you need to do more price only and price updates and market updates. I said, you need to get comfortable in people's lounge rooms. I said, you love the business, don't you? And she said, yeah. I said, that's all you need. I said, do you love people? Yeah. I said, but I think some of the agents have got better skills. I said, well, learn to have a different, unique selling proposition to those agents. Don't try and be the same as them. Be you. You go in and knock them out in different areas, right? But I said, increase your volume of, call them whatever you want. Market updates, price onlys, building a pipeline of potential sellers for 5 years down the track. The more lounge rooms you get in front of, the more often you get to rehearse and practice your pre-listing presentation, the more confident you're going to become at it.
There's like a mastery, there's a discipline and a routine, and then there's like having great fun and great energy with it. And if you're not enjoying it, if you're not having great fun with it, the customer's not going to list with you. You know, and I had a guy who rang me the other day. He said, "Josh, I've lost 9 in a row. What do I do?" I said, "Probably go and watch some comedy." He goes, "What do you mean?" I said, "Mate, you need to lighten up. You're not laughing. You're not having fun with the client because you're worried, is this going to be the 10th I'm going to lose?"
And the vendor senses that anxiety.
And
you can smell it.
You got to take the pressure off the client, not put your pressure onto them that you're in trouble. Garth, thanks so much for being on our Black and Whites. We've learned a ton from you. A lot of the wealth creation is a really important part for our industry. We're looking forward to seeing you continue to grow and to shine out there in the marketplace. Thanks, mate.
Brilliant.
Cheers.
Good on you.